It's Friday, and you know what that means. Wrestling Roundup is saddened to learn of the passing of Brody Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper in the WWE, this past week. Our thoughts go out to him, his family, his friends, and everybody's life who he touched. Out of respect for Brody, we will be opening the show this week with a 10-bell salute. Hey, let's do a Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype, it's Josh.
Hey.
Let's look at Smackdown first, just because it intrigues me the most. We open it up. It's not often we get to see a Universal title match on Smackdown, but also a Universal title match in a steel cage.
Yeah, we certainly don't see that often, and we don't see it as an opener for SmackDown. That said, WWE was brilliant in what they did here, because they knew they had a leading in of a big time football game, which was going to bring in massive ratings. So what is the first thing you see? Only their most marketable wrestler, Roman Reigns.
It's a good play. They know what they're doing. You can't say that they're just fluking their way through this.
Nope. So, obviously, we knew last week that this match was going to happen because it was taped prior to our recording. That's why I specifically dropped the line that said I don't think this ends even with this match.
Yeah. It very much seems to be continuing the feud past this.
Yeah. We'll have to see on this week's SmackDown on how they progress this, or where they go next. But it definitely does appear that there's going to be at least another stage of this feud. And most likely there'll be a stipulation in which Jey Uso will not be allowed at the ringside.
Yeah, this is...
But that's okay, because there's another Uso that'll come into play.
Yeah, I feel a little bit like I'm parroting last week, but this... Especially with the finish of the steel cage match again, 2 weeks in a row, it is screaming Jey Uso banned from ringside. It won't get out the back of my head. It just keeps yelling at me.
Yeah. And that just means that Jimmy's going to come into play at some point in the next few weeks. But that's fine. It gets us beyond where we need to go. And it's still getting Kevin Owens over as the he will not die challenger.
Yeah, despite Jey constantly interfering, he's still putting on really close matchups. It looks like even though we're all sitting here knowing he's not going to win the Universal title, he makes you doubt that in these matches.
And that's what Jey did in his matches with Roman. You knew Roman was not going to lose to Jey Uso. But there were several moments in those matches where you were like, are they really going to do this? Because that's how close they made it look. And that just goes to say of just talent and abilities of one Roman Reigns.
Putting on good feud after good feud. But that wasn't the only title match on SmackDown. In fact, I believe we had 3.
Yes.
But let's take a look at the woman. Flair and Asuka, they came down. They were like, hey, let's defend our title. And we got 2 other teams to step up and take them on in a triple threat elimination match.
one that seems logical in its configuration, and one that doesn't seem very logical. The logical one obviously would be Bayley and Carmella.
The We Hate Sasha Banks Club.
Yes. So yeah, that one made sense. But then there was the other pairing. Sasha Banks and, out of nowhere, Bianca Belair.
We're the only other two women on the roster pairing.
Yeah. That they want to use right for this episode. Yeah, but it was again like the case of let's throw the main champion in to a tag team title match when we already have a main champion in the tag team champions. I will say it did help elevate a little bit Bianca, just be in a program with Sasha and women of the caliber of Asuka and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do think, honestly, I think Bianca Belair wins the Royal Rumble. I really think that's an extreme possibility.
It feels like every time we're sitting here, we're like, Bianca Belair, she's going to debut, she's going to, she repeated it. She's going to do really amazing in the Survivor Series. Okay, she had a bit of a performance. She's going to win the Rumble.
In the Survivor Series match.
It's true.
It just so happened that her elimination allowed Lana to win uncontested. But yeah. It was all about that back body drop, where she body dropped Nia Jax of all women over the barricade.
She's not like most girls.
Nope, she's the EST.
Yeah, I could see Bianca Belair winning the Rumble. If we're not going with Bayley Sasha at Mania. But at this point, I honestly would say around all of the women's divisions, that's counting Raw, that's counting SmackDown, that's counting the tag team division, I can't quite tell you where we're going to be in a month. We obviously got Jax Asuka, we got Baszler Asuka, we got to burn and explode the women's tag champs at some point, but they got to go somewhere else. Who knows where else?
When we get to talking to Raw, I will mention something I noticed on Raw.
Let's just go to it. Just mention it now.
Yeah. Alright, because Asuka had a match with, it was Charlotte that had a match with Nia Jax. And in their entrance, Asuka came down with Charlotte. Charlotte, while she was doing her entrance, took two very sneaky looks at Asuka's women's championship.
Yeah.
It was just very subtle, but it was just excellent storytelling at the same time. You know that's going to come in between them at some point.
Yeah, I think the end point is going to be Charlotte Asuka. It's just when do we get there? How fast do we get there? And what do we do between now and then?
What I am really hoping for is that we get a team like the Riot Squad that become the beneficiaries of the explosion of this tag team.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Lord knows it's not going to be Dana Brooke because she was killed by Shayna Baszler.
Yeah. It was a little bit rough for both Brooke and Mandy Rose. Both of them had a little tough on Raw.
Yeah. So, I think it almost has to be Riot Squad next. They never actually got their one-on-one shot for the tag titles. But that whole thing got put on ice because of the whole Survivor Series thing, and then they forgot about it.
Not the first time, won't be the last time. What are we? We're 9 minutes. Let's go to song before we talk about the last title match of SmackDown. This week, to no one's surprise, after the intro to the show, will be Brody Lee's AEW theme. And then after we come back from that, we will talk about the final title match on SmackDown.
Wake up your mind.
And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Main event time.
Yeah, and you know what that means.
It means we're gonna have a lumberjack match with the Intercontinental title on the line.
Yeah, who knew? The Intercontinental title was going to be the main event of a show that also included a Universal Championship match.
I would not have predicted it.
No. We all kind of got the feeling that this was coming. But it's good to see. It's good to see that Big E with the gold. As I think we all were like, they're going to rocket him to the moon, but I think they're going the right way, to be honest. I think really Big E's like a year away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine with them putting the IC title on him now and just slowly build to that rocket ship. And then this time next year, he'll be in position to win the Rumble.
So Royal Rumble 2022, Big E.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll predict that far out. Put that down in the record book. So when it's a year from now, and we're looking at this, and we're right, I need somebody to remind me because I won't remember. I don't remember what we did last month. I'm not going to remember what happens in a year. But I think it's, as you say, it's great for Big E. He gets another singles title added to him. Takes down Sami Zayn, who has honestly been doing amazing with the title. Kind of the only thing, I guess, is a downside of this Big E winning the title is that we don't see Sami Zayn as champion anymore, but has to come to an end sooner or later, and Sami Zayn can keep up his antics without a title. It's doable.
This character's pretty much devolved to everybody's against me.
Yeah.
And
well, to be fair, that's true.
In a sense, it was true. And then I love the little segment they had with the Street Profits prior to the match with them giving him a gift, and it was his own shirt, only had tape on it to replace the word "am" with "was."
And he can wear that all day long now.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how they start 2021 with Big E's reign as Intercontinental Champion. But I'd say that this is a good step in the right direction for him.
We know who's probably finishing Smackdown, or the first Smackdown of 2021 as the Intercontinental Champion, but we don't know who's going to be finishing the first Raw of 2021 as WWE Champion, because Drew McIntyre will be defending his title.
Yeah, this will be very interesting, because we had a good match to determine the number one contender. I'm not going to call it a great one because there were a lot of mistakes, especially by the winner during the match. But it's still a big moment, and I hope it leads to something more for this winner.
I feel like you're just dancing around the fact that my other boy lost.
Yeah, I was totally shocked when Sheamus lost the match, because I really thought that they would go with the let's give Drew and Sheamus that one-on-one WWE Championship match, just to really let them have their moment, and then they could have one heck of a match on Raw next week. And then they went with the young guy, Keith Lee. So I really have no clue what's going to be down, what's going to happen next week. But what I would do is I would have them have one heck of a match, and just have Drew just barely retain his title. It'd be like it was just a moment away that Keith Lee could have snatched the title from him at any moment. But he falls to a Claymore. And this leads Keith Lee to beginning to realize that if he wants to be champion, he can't be just this fun-loving, gentle giant. So he's going to have to get mean and get a little nasty. And this eventually leads him to MVP and the Hurt Business.
Alright. I gotcha. That's some storytelling.
Yeah, and that would lead to Keith Lee winning the Rumble.
Okay.
And then challenging whoever the WWE champion is at that time. And with him in the Hurt Business and as WWE champion, that would complete the Golden Prophecy.
Okay. My okays are not like, I think that'll happen. My okays are, you're crazy. But that's just because it's so wild.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Yeah. I wouldn't be mad if it happened. But gosh darn, it's some wild poo-poo. Almost swore there, caught myself. That might be the closest I've been for a while. Yeah, I could definitely see it. I think, as much as Sheamus lost the number 1 contendership match, I don't think the feud between Sheamus and Keith Lee is over. I don't think the frenemies thing between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre is over. So although Keith Lee gets this shot at the title, I definitely don't think he's going to be successful. I don't think he's going to take the title off Drew during a random Raw or anything. But I don't quite know how they're going to move on from here with regards to advancing those sort of mini...
There is one thing. It's not really fully a random Raw.
It's true.
Because it is going to be Legends Night. But I do think Drew does walk out with the title. Because I think something's going to happen the next week.
Okay.
Because the next week is the anniversary episode of Raw. And the last time they had an anniversary episode of Raw.
They really hit that in case of emergency smash themed Raw. Glass.
At Raw 25, a certain someone won a title.
Was it Sheamus?
No. It was a certain someone else who got a big prize, present at the end of Raw.
Oh, is it Grand Metalik?
Well, I would say Great Night might have been involved with the person that got this present.
Oh, was it Jomo? It was John Morrison, wasn't it?
Oh, I will say I was so happy when I saw Grand Metalik beat The Miz, because that was a moment for Grand Metalik, while also showing that they're still breaking down The Miz to build him back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did the segment at the end when Adam Pearce handed him back his briefcase, because it wasn't him that handed the briefcase in the first place. It was John Morrison. And so the technical lip-hole worked, and the Miz is Mr. Money in the Bank again.
Look, it makes a lot of sense that he didn't hand in the contract. And now we get another shot.
Yeah, and that's why I could see it happening on the anniversary episode of Raw.
The Miz does like special themed Raws and winning.
Yeah. So it would either be next week after a heck of a match between Lee and McIntyre, or an unexpected Raw of the week after when nobody is expecting it, and it's to commemorate the 27th anniversary of this first Raw. Or they could do nothing, and we have Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble for the title.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I threw that one out because I knew that wouldn't make you happy.
All I want, I don't care if it's on Raw, at the Rumble, or anything. I just want a nice 1v1. Clean, start to finish, give him 15 to 20 minutes. Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, middle of the ring for the WWE title. That's all I want. I'm not asking for much here. Surely I can get given it. I won't, but surely I could.
Well, we'll see.
The Miz will say nope and find a way to squirm into it and ruin it. Couple more talking points from Raw. Retribution, they're continuing to try and get one of your boys to join their ranks.
Yeah, I will say the promo he cut on Raw Talk last week was his best talking bit that he's done in the company up to this point. It was a good match between Ali and Ricochet, and and they made him look really good with what he could possibly do with the whole fighting off Retribution part of the match. I just don't care about Retribution, which is a sad thing if he gets lumped in, which he still will not join them, so he must be destroyed by Retribution, I guess. There was a way that he could have prevented all these attacks and stuff. All he had to do was not beat the Hurt Business a few months back and join them.
Hashtag still salty.
Yeah. Oh well, if we get Keith Lee in, I'll be in the Hurt Business, and that'll make it all better.
Okay. Yeah, they might not have been clean, but Ricochet has copped losses now to T-Bar, Mace, and Ali in consecutive weeks. Really only got Slapjack left, and let's hope he doesn't lose to Slapjack. That's nail in the coffin time. You might as well join Retribution at that point, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see, but it's definitely a case where the story isn't interesting me. It's just what I hope they do with the character afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
What can they pull out of him to make people actually care about Ricochet?
That's fair.
And if they can continue doing stuff like that promo he had on Raw Talk, then that will make people care. We've said multiple times, it doesn't matter if you can do 1,000,000 moves real in the ring. If you cannot make people care about you in any way, shape, or form, you're not going to matter. And that's just a fact of the business. You have to make people care. And I really hope that they can find a way to make people care about Ricochet, because he is a fantastic talent.
Mm-hmm. He can do 1,000,000 moves in the ring.
Yeah. It's just all about finding who Ricochet is and bringing it out and showing it to the world. That is always the most difficult part about getting a superstar, is their character.
And I think someone who we've done a really good job at finding, we keep mentioning the Hurt Business as an entity that helps people really settle into roles. It's done wonders for Cedric. It's rebuilt Shelton after a pretty shaky return, and it's turned Lashley around entirely. They seem to be lined up with a Riddle Hardy kind of feud at the moment.
Yeah. I would like to point out something that was brought to my attention on Monday.
Go nuts.
Bobby Lashley has not lost a one-on-one match in 7 months.
Nice. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, they were asking if it was somebody said, could this be a coincidence or could it be something leading to something greater? And you know something? I would say it's a coincidence, but I would have said the same thing about Drew McIntyre last year. At this time last year.
Yeah.
And we saw the 2020 he had.
That's true.
I guess the question would be, could 2021 be Bobby Lashley's year?
Lashley did declare for the Rumble.
He was the second male to declare for the Rumble. The first was Daniel Bryan back on Smackdown.
He's got a chance.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be. They could bring in Brock Lesnar for one night only situation, and finally give the people what they really want in that Lashley versus Lesnar match, or at least what some people want. So yeah, it's the Hurt Business is doing great business. No pun intended.
But you intended.
And I was watching on Raw, and I sit there and I was like, Why is Riddle not a heel? He can be so annoying completely by accident. Some of the stuff he was trying to name the combination of Kofi, Xavier, Jeff, and himself just drove me absolutely batty. And I'm like, this man was a perfect heel. He needs to be heel.
Well, maybe he'll turn on Hardy and you'll find out. And you'll get to see him as your heel.
Yeah. But it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, the Hurt Business just won the tag titles. There's no way they're going to lose them to Jeff Hardy and Riddle. Or the Hardy Bros. Which is completely confusing when you consider that the Hardy Bros is just short for brothers. And you can't have the Hardy Brothers.
Whoops. Totally not on purpose. But we'll have to wait and see what they give to us next week, because we are all out of time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye-bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRadio, Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRadio, and we'll see you next week.